All right, guys, so this is part 1 to your Algebra 1 6-week benchmark review. I take a look at this first problem, and it's got this large fraction bar right here. And that's not that big of a deal because we learned that a fraction bar is just a different way to write division problems. So how do we undo a division problem? Well, we undo division with multiplication. And we learned that whenever we have this, we like to use these big brackets around each side. And that reminds us that we're multiplying each side by 9. Why 9? Because that's the number in our denominator, okay? So what that multiplication does is it cancels these out, leaving us with b minus 10. And on the right-hand side, whatever happens over here happens. So negative 3 times 9 is a negative 27. Now we finish off the problem by adding 10 to both sides. Those cancel, and we get that b equals negative 17. On number 2, we've got to get p by itself, but in order to do that, we've got to free it up from these parentheses. So we take this negative sign, and I know there's no number there, but there's an understood 1 right here. And so we take this negative sign and distribute it. Whenever we do that, 5 stays like that on the left. We get negative times negative is a positive 5. Negative times a positive gives us a negative p. Well, now we just want to get p by itself. So there's 2 ways to do this. One way is to just subtract 5 from both sides. That way we get p over here by itself. So I do that. I subtract 5 because I want to get rid of this 5 right here. So I subtract 5 from both sides. That cancels out. I get 5 minus 5 is 0, and then negative p. And we're almost done. We just have to get rid of that negative sign. So we divide each side by negative 1. That's going to cancel, and we get p on the right-hand side, and 0 divided by anything is always 0. Okay? On number 3, we're just solving an equation again. So we have this equation, which is x minus 8. I'm sorry, it's not an equation. It's actually an inequality. X minus 8 is greater than or equal to negative 7. So we add 8 to both sides because we want x by itself. X, the sign does not change. And we get x is greater than 1. The sign does not change. It only changes when we multiply or divide by a negative number. Very specific time that it changes. We look up here at our answers, and we've got 2 of them that are x is greater than 1. So we have to make sure one of them is graphed correctly. We're between B and D right now. Well, we want to have a whole dot at the number 1. This one has a whole dot. This one has an open dot. So D's out. Just to make sure, we need this to be shaded, the variables on the left, so we can trust the arrow. So we want it to shade to the right. This one shades to the right. B is our answer. That's what I warned y'all about yesterday, was that on the test, they may give you 2 right answers, and you have to know which one's graphed correctly. For number 4, we have n minus 20 is less than negative 35, and we want to get n by itself. So very similar to the last problem, we're going to add 20 to each side. That's going to cancel. We get n is less than negative 35 plus 20 leaves us with negative 15. Now we look up through our answers, and we see, oh, there's only one that has that as the answer. C. On number 5, we've got a little bit more work to do here. We've got a negative 10 is less than or equal to 2 plus x. We want to get x by itself, so we subtract 2 from each side. That's going to cancel. We get a negative 12 is less than or equal to x. And you look up at your answer and say, but Mr. Struthers, my answer's not up there. That's because our x is over here on the right-hand side. If we put it on the left-hand side, if we move it over to the left-hand side, we have to remember to flip this symbol around, okay? So if we want, this could alternatively be written as x greater than 12. A lot of people just flip these every time. Other people read it backwards. They say x, and they say the big N's facing x, so x is greater than negative 12. Well, that's the same thing we wrote right here. X is greater than or equal to negative 12. There's only one answer with that, and it's D. Number 6 takes a big step up in difficulty, but we already did a problem very similar to this, okay? So the first order of business is that we've got to get rid of that big fraction bar. Before we can start moving stuff around up top with this B, we've got to get rid of this 21. So we draw big old brackets around the whole thing. We're multiplying each side by a number. That number is whatever's down here, because that's what we're trying to get rid of. That's what we're trying to cancel out. So we multiply by 21, multiply by 21. These are going to cancel. Okay, those are going to cancel out. Over on the left-hand side, we have a negative 21, because this was a negative 1, is greater than negative 8 plus b. Notice my sign in the middle, my inequality still did not change, because I multiplied by a positive number. If I multiply by a negative number, that's when I start flipping signs, okay? Well, I got to finish the problem out by adding 8 to each side. And I get a b, I get the symbol stays the same. I'm going to have a negative 13. And then you look up there, and again, you see that it's not a possible answer. Well, all we have to do is flip the problem around again. So if I take b and put it on the other side, I just need to make sure my arrow points at the b again, okay? It points at the same stuff. So b is less than negative 13. These two statements right here and right here, those are equivalent statements, all right? So now I look up at my answers, only one possible choice. It's got to be b. For number 7, find the slope of each line. Well, to do this, when I'm given a graph, I just have to be able to count. So I need to identify 2 points. There's a point, there's a point. You could have also picked a point down here. You could have picked a point down here. Any of those will work. Now I'm just counting. I have to remember that slope is rise over run, which means change in y over change in x. So how much did I change in the y direction? Well, from this point down to here, and you can count either direction, you'll get the same answer. I go down 1, 2, 3. Well, down 3 means negative 3. Then I have to go to the right 1. Well, going to the right 1 gives me a 1. And they're not going to write it like this. Anytime it's 3 over 1 or any number over 1, it's just that number. So my slope is negative 3. From the get-go, we could have canceled out b and d because we see that our line is decreasing, which means it has to have a negative slope. On number 8, we're doing the same process. I need to identify 2 points on the graph. The first one that catches my eye is that one. I'm looking for an increasing, so there we go, because I just followed the graph. You could have also selected this point down here. It looks like it meets right there at a vertex. That's a good point. But I just went ahead and dotted these 2, and it's going to work the same either way. Again, rise over run. So if I'm counting from this point to this point, you can count the other way. It does not matter. We're rising a positive 2. We went up 2 slots. Then we went to the right 1, 2, 3. 3 slots. Well, we're already done with this problem. We just have to find our answer, and it's D. Okay? Again, up is positive, and right is positive. Down would be negative 2, and left would be 1, 2, 3, negative 3. So that, if you counted the other way, you'd have negative 2 over negative 3. Well, negative over negative is just a positive. So we get the same exact answer, okay? Same answer. Number 9 has the same directions as 7 and 8. We're just finding slope. So I need 2 points. Well, the first one that catches my eye is right there, and then I look and I go up 1 over 1, and I'm at the same exact thing. So again, if I did rise over run, I would have up 1 over 1, which is just a slope of positive 1. If this is a decreasing line, it would be a slope of negative 1, but it's not, it's increasing. So on to number 10, that was a quick one on number 9. Number 10, that goes right through the origin. Might as well start with that being my first point. Now I need to find another one. That one's no good. Remember, these points like this are no good because I can't really tell where it is. Again, no good. No good. That one's really close. That one's a bit tricky. It's hard to see. But I can look one further and see this one definitely goes through a vertex right there. Okay? So if I'm counting, I'm doing rise over run every single time. That's the only way slope works. How much do I rise? 1, 2, 3. Now I'm on the same line with my other dot. So I rose 3, and I ran 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, both of those were in the positive direction. Because I had an increasing line, I should have an increasing slope. Again, from the get-go, you could have gotten rid of these 2 because you know it's an increasing line. If that's all you remember, at least you got a 50-50 shot at getting the problem right, okay, rather than a 1 in 4 shot.